And welcome back, Bears fans, to another episode of the Bears Brothers podcast. If you're keeping score at home, this is our 110th episode. We are now 3 days away from the Chicago Bears' third preseason game, or in other words, the dress rehearsal. I'm your host, Will DeWitt. Today I'm joined by one of my Bears brothers, Nicholas Moriano, but we're not alone as we have a very special guest with us as WGN Radio's Adam Hoge is here. Adam, thanks for joining the show. We're honored to have you on to talk some Bears football. How's it going today?
What's up, guys? It's been a busy day at House Hall and a busy week, so plenty to talk about today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Nick, I know you're the one who coordinated this whole meetup. When you got the message from Adam and on Twitter saying he's going to be on the show, did you, like Tariq Cohen, want to cry like a little girl?
You know, it was something along those lines. I'm not going to lie. So it was along those lines, yeah.
But hey, you manned it up, and we're here, and we're talking some Bears football, starting this podcast. So, guys, let's just dive right into the conversation and begin with the news that, everyone's been talking about, and that's Mitch Trubisky working with the starters for the first time, and the plans in place for the rookie quarterback to go ahead and start the second half of Sunday's game against the Titans with the number one offense. It sounds like that the rookie quarterback may just get that chance that we've all been clamoring for. Head coach Sean Fox said that, the depth chart hasn't changed. This move is just for evaluation purposes. But you know what? I'm excited. Nick, I know you are too, for Mitch to have this opportunity because we've been clamoring and hoping that at the bare minimum, he'd see some first-team reps this preseason. So, Adam, even though Fox is reluctant to say whether or not that the Bears have actually transitioned this situation into an actual open quarterback battle, in your mind, do you believe it's possible that if Mitch actually outplays Glennon yet again, this time with the starters, that the Bears coaches would actually be open to number 10 officially earning the starting job?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I think that I've been asked this question a lot. What week will Trubisky be named the starter? I do think it happens at some point this season. But we need to see what happens Sunday. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. There's a reason why they're doing this in Tennessee, and so I'm not willing to rule out week one yet. If Glennon comes out and plays well in the first half against the Titans, then it's probably his job to start the season, and then you keep evaluating it week by week from there. Because there's really two things here, and I've talked and written about this. One, Mitch Trubisky needs to be ready. I mean, you can't rush him. If he doesn't understand the offense, if he's still having struggling under center with his dropbacks, things like that, then you don't rush him. And you give him that time to work all that kind of stuff out. But if he is ready, and I think he has accelerated the process a little bit. He talked openly yesterday about the idea that he thinks he's surprised the Bears a little bit with how quickly he's come on. And if he is ready, well, then you ask the question, which quarterback gives you the best chance to win? And let's not act like that doesn't matter. John Fox's job could be on the line this season. He's going to play the best quarterback.
Right.
And so far, the best quarterback looks like it's Mitch Trubisky. So it looks like the bigger question is, when is he ready? So we'll find that out. I mean, we'll find out how ready he is. I'm really intrigued to see him play with the starters and against starters. Hopefully the Titans still have their starters in the second half. My guess is they will. And I also wouldn't rule out this kind of adjusting on the fly Sunday. I mean, if Glennon comes out and looks terrible at the beginning of the game, or at least in the first quarter, I wonder if they'll put Trubisky in earlier than they said, because if it's really one series, like Mike Glennon alluded to, that's not a very large sample size to make a huge change off of. And that's why I'm not sure I buy that it's just going to be one series.
And Adam, sticking with Trubisky, it just seemed like in yesterday's press conference, he was just radiating with confidence. And I think that's been a common theme for most of the rookie class. Tariq Cohen had a majority of the media laughing today with his comments at the podium, getting reps with the ones, also getting reps with the ones. Adam Shaheen, Eddie Jackson as well. What have you seen from Trubisky when training camp began to where he's at now, getting first-team reps and now playing with the number one offense on Sunday?
Well, he is a confident kid, but I think I agree that yesterday seemed like the most confident he's been with us. And again, that's not like he hasn't been confident. It's just he exuded the kind of the qualities of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. So I think that there's no question he came into this confident. I think he's handled it well by respecting that Mike Glennon just signed here, and the Bears have said it's Glennon's job. So he hasn't gone out of his way, or even yesterday, I mean, it was kind of being pushed on, well, do you view this as a competition now? He's like, well, I'm not going to go there. I try, though. So he's respected Glennon, but in his head, he thinks it's a competition because it is. And he's he wants to win the starting job. Who doesn't? He wants to play. And so he's gone about his business and worked very, very hard, both in the offseason, but from training camp. The coaches talk about how smart he is and how much work he puts in. And those are qualities you obviously have to have as a quarterback. And so far it has led to positive results. But I will caution that the sample size is very small, and I'm still not completely convinced he's ready. As good as he's looked, I'm talking about all the things behind the scenes. That's the stuff. Those of us that cover the team, we've been able to watch practice every day, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know what's going on in those meeting rooms. We don't know what the coaches know, everything that they know, and where Mitch is with this offense. And I think that's important to keep in mind.
Well, would you say as well, like maybe the intangibles that he brings to the table might outweigh him not being 100% completely ready, especially if Glennon does go out there and struggle?
You're saying, can you basically still play him if he's not 100% ready?
Yeah, because I think the intangibles that he brings into that field, that it factor that he's at least displayed here in preseason, to me at least, could outweigh him not being 100% mentally ready, or like you said, in the quarterback room as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's close, he needs to be ready enough that he's not hurting you on the field, right? I mean, Sure, you can get no rookie, no matter who you are, is completely ready to dive into the NFL, no matter what the position is, and have unbelievable success. Now, there are situations, and obviously Dak Prescott looked pretty good last year, but Dak Prescott still was playing behind a great offensive line, and the Cowboys smartly delivered game plans every week that fit him well. And I think they were scaled back a little bit because he was a rookie. He didn't have all that experience, because experience is the other part of this, that the only way you can get experience is by playing. So there's always going to be stuff that Trubisky has to work out once he gets on the field. There's no question about it. I think to kind of get back to your question, I think the thing is, if Glennon's hurting you to the point that you can't execute your running game properly, because that's the thing that kind of worries me. If Glennon really can't throw the ball downfield, that's going to bring safeties up, and that can hurt what looks like it could be a really good running game. I mean, the offensive line looks good enough to execute, and the Bears have a pretty deep, stable running backs, it looks like.
Right.
And that's another thing you can lean on if Trubisky isn't 100% ready. So you need to at least have that threat to open up the offense. And as I watched that first half in Arizona last week, the defense looked good. The special teams looked good. The offense, I didn't even think played that bad. It just looked like they were missing a quarterback that could throw the ball downfield, because the Cardinals were playing up, and it was making things more difficult, even though Tariq Cohen was finding ways to get through holes. A lot of other running backs, I don't think, would have gotten some of those small holes he got through.
No, exactly. You make a lot of good points there. So up next, we're going to go ahead and get Adam's thoughts on yesterday's big payday. But first, I need to tell you a little bit about our friends over at SeatGeek. Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there's a better, simpler way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to live events. With SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way I've been able to shop for tickets. I can be anywhere, and just with a few taps, instantly find some seats. I was actually just looking at the app earlier today, looking at some tickets for the Bears-Falcons game. We never know. Mitch Trubisky may end up starting, and if so, the ticket prices are only going to go up. So check that out now. SeatGeek is designed to make your ticket buying experience easier than ever before. And to get you the most bang for your buck, SeatGeek rates every ticket based on value to help you immediately identify the best seats that fit your budget. Best of all, our listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code BEARS today. That's promo code BEARS, BEARS, for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Alrighty, well, I'm Will DeWitt, joined by Nicholas Moriano and Adam Hoge of WGN. And we are coming into the next segment of our show, and we're going to be discussing the next yesterday's big contract, which was Charles Leno Jr., who got a 4-year contract worth $21.5 million in guarantees. The former 7th rounder out of Boise State enters his 4th season in Chicago with a new deal. And, me personally, I can be happy for the guy. I think he's earned it. But Adam, I want to know what your thoughts are on this deal. I know there are a good number of fans who liked it. And then there's also like a small minority that I noticed that really found themselves confused by the deal. So does this deal make sense?
Well, I think it does make sense. I think that left tackle is a position that tends to get a lot of scrutiny no matter what. I mean, it's always easy to pinpoint when a guy misses a block and gets the quarterback killed. It always kind of tends to fall on those tackles, and so it's not a very glamorous position, because then when you play well, no one really talks about it because you don't really notice it. And that's the thing. I mean, I thought Charles Leno played pretty well in Arizona.
Yeah.
No one talked about it. But when he gave up the pressure on Mike Glennon's pick 6 in the first game against the Broncos, everyone was talking about that, and they're still using that as an example for why he shouldn't have gotten this contract. So I don't really think that's fair. I think when you look at the money, look, if Charles Leno played great all year long and they took this to the offseason where he hit the open market, he's going to get a ton of money. It's not much different than quarterbacks. There's very few people in the entire world that can play left tackle at the NFL level. So when that creates markets, that creates markets that really inflate the price. This is why Mike Glennon gets $18.5 million, right? I mean, it's hard to really justify that. And you look at Charles Leno, you go, okay, he's not a top 5 offensive tackle, so why is he getting all this money? Well, the reality is he's getting paid like an average offensive tackle because the position is so valuable. The Bears are jumping on this before the season. I don't know how Leno's going to play this year. I don't think he's going to play any worse than he has in the past. And actually, for the last 2 years, he's been pretty solid. I think Bears fans can remember much, much worse at the position. So I think it makes sense to get this deal done now.
For sure. Nick, we want to go over to you. Do you have any other thoughts on the Bears offense that you want to pick Adam's brain on?
Yeah, Adam, I'm going to be focusing on Kevin White this game. Obviously, he's a guy who's not lived up to expectations thus far in his career, and I don't want to throw out that 4-letter B word, but it's definitely been circulating. And this year, he's had a quiet training camp and quiet 2 preseason games. But I'm hoping that he plays the entire game on Sunday. It seems like White and Mike Glennon so far haven't been on the same page, really the entire first-team offense when you think about it. But would you be open for White playing the entire game, especially knowing Trubisky will be playing in the second half? Maybe those two have a better connection.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play the whole game, but I think he'll play as long as Trubisky's still in there. Well, at least I would hope they would. I mean, they kind of said that the starters are only going to be out there for one series. Well, I'm not really sure because Glennon kind of alluded to that, but Fox seemed more open-ended, and said that we'll go from there. But I do think that as long as Trubisky's out there, at least a big portion of that time, Kevin White should be out there. And that's also a big reason why I wanted to see Trubisky play with the starters, because I'm interested to see if the quarterback change impacts him in any way. Because so far, Mike Glennon has not looked Kevin White's way a whole lot. It's been mostly Cam Meredith, and that's fine. But I wonder, because if you look at last year, when Kevin White finally had those 2 good games in week 3 and week 4 before he got hurt, it was actually Brian Hoyer who was playing quarterback. And I don't know if that helped. The sample size was so small, but it seemed like it did. And right now when I look at Kevin White, I'm seeing a guy that's struggling to get off man coverage at the line of scrimmage. So when you have a quarterback like Glennon who's not very mobile and has to get rid of the ball very quickly, well, that doesn't give you a whole lot of time to – if your first read's Kevin White and he's struggling to get off the line of scrimmage, get that separation – well, you're going to move right to your next read, right? Because you got to get rid of the ball. Mitch Trubisky has a different game. He can elude pressure. You can work him on rollouts. You can give your wide receivers more time to get open. And that might result in Kevin White getting more passes. And let's not underestimate how much that might matter. Kevin White is still Ryan Pace's first draft pick. Still very invested in making sure Kevin White ends up being good. And if he looks better with Mitch Trubisky, I think that matters in the situation and who starts the season as quarterback.
No, that makes a ton of sense when you put it that way, for sure. So hopefully that plays out exactly as you said. So we just kind of poked Adam's brain on a few hot topics surrounding the Bears offense heading into their dress rehearsal. But coming up next, we're going to flip the script and discuss Chicago's defense. But first, I just want to take a quick moment and remind you that we have partnered with Pro Football Focus for a giveaway of their Edge subscription, which gives you NFL player grades, snap counts, position ranks, fantasy projections, ranking tools, and charts, NFL draft coverage with PFF profiles and stats, team and player pages featuring PFF signature stats, and a whole lot more. And all this would normally cost about $40 a year, but right now you have a chance to win it for absolutely free. All you need to do is leave our show review on Apple Podcasts with your Twitter handle included, and they're going to pick a winner late tomorrow on Friday, August 24th. We already have 4 fans in contention, so act fast. Review our show with your Twitter handle to be included for a giveaway for a free years-long subscription to Pro Football Focus Edge. Nick, since that was kind of a mouthful, I'm going to just hand this off to you. What's something that you're paying attention to on the Bears defense on Sunday that you want to ask Adam about?
Yeah, I'm going to be paying attention to Kyle Fuller. I thought he had a pretty good game against the Cardinals last week, and he's been a guy that's been up and down with the Bears organization as of late, and he's still fighting for a roster spot. Adam, you mentioned in your 10 Bears things, you wrote you were skeptical of the Bears trading him before the start of the season. So what are you looking for him out of him on Sunday, and what does he need to do to actually earn a spot on this roster?
Yeah, there's 2 parts to that idea of the Bears trading Kyle Fuller. The most important being that is there a team willing to give up something for him? Now, if he plays well again, then I don't know, maybe there's a late round draft pick that some team's willing to give up. But is a late round draft pick worth the depth you might need at corner this year? And I would look at Prince Amukamara and Marcus Cooper as starting caliber corners. I like what I've seen from them so far, but they're both dealing with hamstring injuries. I'm not sure Cooper's 100%. Yet, after dealing with that in the offseason, and Amukamara didn't play last week because of a hamstring. He's back practicing. That's a good sign. But it just is a nice reminder that, hey, you need more than 2 corners on the outside to get through the season. And Kyle Fuller's not a bad backup to have. He certainly hasn't lived up to expectations as a first-round pick, but I think you can do a lot worse. So if a team's willing to give you a second or third rounder, that's a different conversation, but I don't think that that's happening. That's why I'm skeptical of the idea of them still being able to work out a trade. I think Kyle probably brings more value as a backup because I don't think he's terrible. I just, you need to get him back out there and see what he can do. So I'm still optimistic that he can play, well enough this season. I don't think he's ever going to be a Pro Bowl corner, but I wouldn't just ship him off for, garbage at this point. I think you might need the depth at the position.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially with, like you said, the injuries to both Amukamara and Cooper. And then you just never know as well with the Bears and the injuries considering last year as well. But for me, looking at this Bears defense, someone I'll be watching for is going to be Roy Robertson Harris. We spoke about on the post-game show just pretty much how he dominated last game. He practically ended back-to-back drives single-handedly. I know John Bullard, another defensive end, has played really strong, but he's still dealing with a glute injury. Mitch Unrein's recovering from a concussion. So, neither practiced yesterday. I don't think any did today, right, Adam? I know for sure Boulder's out. Is Unrein still out? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe he still was today. Yeah, so
that for me at least opens the door wide open for Robertson Harris, to make his mark come Sunday. So what are your thoughts on the second-year player out of UTEP? Do you think Sunday's game is a chance for him to solidify his spot in this rotation?
Yeah, well, I think he already that game in Arizona, I think, carried a lot of weight, and I think that he's sitting pretty good right now. But yeah, you like to see him follow that up with another strong performance. It was interesting to hear him talk with us yesterday about kind of what he dealt with last season. First child being born, you went through some depression, not being able to play. Basically, it didn't sound like this switch to defensive end was something that he was told a long time ago. He kind of put on weight on his own. It sounded like by accident, not on purpose. And then that's when the coaches said, hey, what do you think about playing defensive end? He was listed at 255 coming out of UTEP at the NFL Combine, and he's now up at 290. So that's a lot of weight, but you look at his frame, and it still looks normal on him because he has a tall, long frame,
right,
and one that fits what they're asking him to do now. So I think it's promising because he has a lot of quickness. He has a lot of athleticism that at least, in Arizona, it didn't look like it was being affected at all by the extra weight, and that's promising. But he was also playing mostly in the second half. You'd like to see what he can do against starters. Maybe some of these other injuries will open up that opportunity for him this week, although it looks like Akeem Hicks might be back. So that's something to keep in mind too. But I like Roy Robertson Harris. I liked him coming out of UTEP. He just sort of disappeared last year. They called it heat illness. Sounds, obviously there was a lot more going on there, as we now know. But he's back. He's happy, and that's important.
Adam, I'll stick with another young player in the defense, and that's Eddie Jackson. Right now, he's doing everything right, and seems like it's his job to lose playing alongside Quinn Demps at safety. If he does, in fact, win the starting job, would you feel comfortable with him starting week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, so the big thing here with Eddie Jackson, I don't think there's any question in the world that he's their best option at safety in terms of the physical ability. He certainly has the best ball skills among the group. And we've seen that from the first day of camp. That's something this defense needs a lot. But here's the thing, Adrian Amos has not shown a knack for getting his hands on the football, and that's a problem. That's why they went out and drafted Eddie Jackson. That being said, I don't think Amos has got enough credit the last couple of years for being somebody who understands the defense and is pretty reliable. You do not see busted coverages with Adrian Amos. Sometimes you see it with Harold Jones-Corte or some of these other guys that have been in there. But Amos has been pretty reliable at that position, and he's a reliable tackler too, so that matters. The thing about Jackson is, at least from what I've been able to gather, is he's still sort of trying to figure out the defense. And the last thing you want to see is a blown coverage once the games really start to matter. So that's what I think the Bears are weighing right now. Can they trust him back there? Because he is, at free safety, it's very important that you don't blow a coverage. If they can, I don't think there's any doubt he plays, because even though he didn't make that interception in Arizona, that play he made, almost had that one-handed interception. That would have been one of the best interceptions we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
If he had actually pulled that down one-handed in the end zone. But it showed off the length and his ability to go up and get the football. So I think whether it's early in the season or later, he's eventually the Bears' free safety, and I've been very encouraged by him so far.
All right, so I guess my last question is also going to stick with the secondary. I think we're all pretty adamant that the Bears' front seven is not going to be much of an issue this year. A lot of the questions are in the back end of this defense. When you look at the nickel position, when healthy, who do you think has the edge, Bryce Callahan or Cre'Von LeBlanc?
It's sort of a similar conversation as Eddie Jackson and Adrian Amos, although I'm not sure that the talent levels is high. I'm not sure. Cre'Von LeBlanc has some ball skills. We've seen that from time to time, but Callahan seems like the player you can trust more. Mm-hmm. It's probably more the better one-on-one coverage and also tackling. So that's an interesting battle that I still can't figure out who the better option is. I think I kind of like Callahan more, but he struggled to stay healthy, and that goes back to last year. So I don't know. But when I look at LeBlanc, I see more times in practice than with Callahan, where he kind of gets lost in coverage and gives up a play. That being said, he seemed to be around the football in Arizona. He's shown that ability in the past. He did have a pick 6 last year. Let's not forget about that. So that's an interesting situation there. If there's a spot for both of them on the team, and I'm guessing there is, then they'll probably both play from time to time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nick, do you have any other final defensive questions that you want to ask Adam about before we end the show?
You know what? No, we do have our fun questions that we want to get to, Will, right?
We do have our fun questions. Do you want to go ahead and start off our questions?
We end each guest podcast with a fun question, Adam. And I want to ask you about your partner, Adam Johns from the Chicago Sun-Times. Your podcast is great, by the way. I always listen to Hoge and Johns. If you don't listen to it, definitely go do it. I also tried a really good beer because of the podcast, The Big Wave. Thank you, Adam, for that. And but what's it like working with Johns, and do you have a favorite memory that you guys have shared?
Oh, wow. Yeah, Johns is great. I think we have great chemistry on the podcast. We've known each other going back to when he was actually on the Blackhawks beat with the Sun-Times, and I was kind of just up and coming with 670 The Score at the time and doing some Blackhawks coverage to help out. So we go back a ways, and then we both ended up on the Bears beat. So we've known each other a long time. Our families are friends too. So this goes beyond, we become friends over the years, our family. So it kind of goes beyond that. I guess with memories, seeing our kids play together, it's always fun. He's got 3. I only have 1. So I don't know how he does it. Good dad too. And I appreciate that about him. Works hard. Doesn't show up to our basketball games though.
I heard about that.
He's never going to live that down. It's always going to be a negative on his resume, but the rest of it's pretty impressive.
So, real quickly, while we have you on this topic of your partner, any chance that we can have a full-on crossover podcast one day?
I'd say it's possible. I don't know the logistics, but I'd say it's possible. We can probably work that thing out.
All right. So at least it's live on air, so people heard it, so we can hold you to it. But no, my fun question for you, part of covering the beat is traveling for road games. So can you share a story of a road trip that kind of stands out amongst the rest?
Ooh. I really enjoyed going to San Diego a couple years ago. I was able to bring my wife and our son out there. The weather was great for November. It was a Monday night game. It's hard for me because I do Northwestern football broadcasts on Saturdays. I'm a sideline reporter, so I haven't been able to take longer trips like I used to the last couple of years. I'm usually just trying to get to the game on time sometimes on Sundays. But yeah, it's a fun. It depends where you're going. I mean, going to Detroit gets pretty old. I don't really go to that trip every year at all. But the San Diego trip definitely stands out, and I love going to Lambeau every year. I do. It's a totally different atmosphere than the rest of the league. It has more of a college feel with the tailgating around the stadium. It's just a great stadium. It's a great atmosphere. There's tons of Bears fans there that are always arguing with the Packer fans, and most of it's pretty cordial. And so it's always kind of fun walking from your car into the stadium too, and just seeing the atmosphere around the stadium. So that is the trip that I probably look forward to the most every year, actually.
Yeah, I've been to Lambeau one time. I believe it was 2012. It wasn't pretty, to say the least. But the atmosphere of Lambeau and like being in that stadium, there's no words to describe it really. It's just like you're almost transcended in time, so like a time before. But that said, I just wanted to say that's going to probably do it for this episode. I want to thank you all who's watched or listened to the live to the show. And of course, I want to thank you, Adam Hoge, for joining us today. Like I said at the top of the show, Nick and I being two recent journalism grads, having you on is a true honor. So thank you for both Nick and myself.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And keep up the work you guys are doing. This is actually a pretty impressive thing you got going here. So keep it going.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
That means the world to all of us. So Bears fans, real quick, we're going to be back soon as the final whistle blows on Sunday, as we're going to instantly break down all of the action. I know, a post-game show on a Sunday, it feels like the regular season. Almost. It's a dress rehearsal. But until then, bear down, Chicago.